So you want to learn to swim freestyle from scratch, hey? Well, you're in the right place here. I've been coaching swimmers to learn how to swim freestyle from complete scratch, as in not even being able to get into the water for the last 20 years. And it's one of the areas of coaching which I'm most proud of in terms of what we've been able to do with the swimmers over the years. I think of one such gentleman, a guy called Phil, who when I was only just getting started with coaching, came to me and said, look, I want to learn how to swim freestyle. I have a big phobia. Something happened to me when I was a little kid. I just want to get in a small pool and work with you directly on my stroke. In fact, our very first few sessions together were more of a psychology session, to be perfectly honest with you. We didn't even get in the water at all. We just talked about what it would feel like to be in the water and what some of the emotions and anxieties we could expect to feel from that. So with Phil, I just worked him through a very simple step-by-step program and just really helped to nurture him and his development along the way. That first experience of working with Phil was a very formative experience for me as a swimming teacher and as a coach. It has taught me a lot about how I actually work with swimmers to help them improve their swimming and get started from scratch. And one such example, as we can see here, is Sam. Are you ready to rumble?
I am.
Good,
Hi.
excellent, good stuff. Now, one of the things that you mentioned when we sat down outside is you said, I just want to feel like a proper swimmer.
Yep.
And one of the first things that you can actually do to actually start that whole process is when you walk out into the pool deck, rather than feeling a bit nervous and a bit anxious about how you're feeling, is just take a few very proud steps down to the pool deck. Now, I know that sounds really cheesy and you might be thinking to yourself, oh, what a load of rubbish. But that whole process really starts now. Feeling proud, feeling confident, getting down to the water, confident that you can actually work your way through these steps and become a good freestyle swimmer. So let's do that right now. Let's stand up tall and proud and we'll walk on down to the pool deck here. Sam learned to swim freestyle with me in a single day. That's right. She went from not being able to swim any freestyle at all to being able to do her first few laps of normal freestyle completely unaided. And the story behind meeting Sam was simply that we'd gone down to a triathlon event and Sam unfortunately had been pulled out of the water. She had a big panic attack. Upon meeting Sam on the side of the lake, I said to her, hey look, I'm going to be filming our new Learn to Swim program. Would you come along and do it with me? Of course, she jumped at the opportunity and we're so glad she did, given what she was able to achieve in that one day and given now what we can actually share with you through our 12-step Learn to Swim training program. But before we do that, let me give you my 4 top tips for getting started from complete scratch. Tip number 1 is just breathe. Now, this might seem like a very, very simple idea, but most swimmers, when they get into swimming for the first time, are so focused on how much air they can get into their lungs and not at all focused on making sure they're blowing out. If you don't blow out underneath the water, you won't clear your lungs properly enough to be able to get a proper breath of air in. And it's that's the limiting factor. Not how much air you can get in, but how much air you can comfortably blow out. And I'd really encourage you here to make sure you feel like you're actually sighing in the water. It doesn't matter whether it's from the nose, from the mouth, or a combination of the two. Work out what works best for you. And with some of our simple sink down exercises, you'll see that it's really not that hard at all. This tongue-in-cheek statement, just breathe, doctors recommend it, is something which I share with all of my swimmers, from those learning to swim all the way up to some of the pro athletes and elite athletes that I've coached over the years. It is really fundamentally important. If you can't breathe well, nothing else matters at all. And the number of elite athletes that I've worked with and filmed and done video analysis with over the years, only to find underneath the water they're completely holding on to the breath as well, is really quite surprising indeed. At whatever level you're swimming at, you've got to learn to just breathe. So that's tip number 1. Tip number 2 is make sure you have some fun. Now, I've just actually been raiding my little boy's toy chest here for this little bicycle. Why we're talking about bicycles when we're here to talk about swimming? Well, funnily enough, my background in swimming has primarily focused around triathlon. I got into triathlon as a swimmer, but my weakest area has always been cycling. But guess what? It's the area which I love the most. I love to ride my bike. I love everything about the idea of utilizing these great bikes for this great equipment to help you improve your biking on the road. But for me, just knowing that it was my weakness could have actually gone one of 2 ways. Either I could have steered away from it and just thought, oh my God, I'm never going to be good as a triathlete. Or what I tried to do was actually turn it around and think, well, I've got the most to gain here because I've got no background at all in cycling. If I can use that and actually gain a little bit of enjoyment from it, the simple notion of being able to improve maybe more on the bike than on the swim and the run was enough to actually keep me motivated and to really give a little bit of joy and bring a bit of joy into my training. And that's what I encourage for yourself. So you're learning to swim freestyle. What is it that you can find about learning to swim freestyle that might be enjoyable for you? It could be meeting it with a mate to go down there and learning together. It could be the enjoyment of learning to float on your back for the first time, or just to blow bubbles in the water. If you can find anything at all that you enjoy about going down to the swimming pool and just being there and being present in the water, it's really going to help to improve that enjoyment. And if you can improve that enjoyment, you'll be likely to come back and to keep working through these steps. So make sure you have some fun. Tip number 3 is bring a buddy. Learning to swim freestyle from scratch for the very first time is a really daunting experience for many people, but if you buddy up with somebody, whether it be a partner, a loved one, just a friend, most people know somebody who can at least swim. And if you show them what you're working on here with our 12-step training program to take you from zero to being able to do your first few laps of freestyle, it can become a really bonding experience. In fact, a bond which, dare I say, might last between the both of you for the rest of your life. Working through with a buddy not only gives you that sort of physical reassurance of being in the water and being able to lean on them, quite literally in many cases, to actually help you get into the right positions, is really quite encouraging. But it also gives a lot of accountability and emotional reassurance as well, that you're meeting your friend and you're going to do this together. So make sure you find somebody who you know can swim and wouldn't mind taking you down to the swimming pool to work through our Learn to Swim program and those 12 steps, and you'll really enjoy that process that much more. So my final tip, tip number 4, is baby steps. Rome wasn't built in a day. In our example with Sam learning to swim freestyle, we covered that ground within a single day. She went from learning to swim freestyle from complete scratch to doing her first few laps of smooth, efficient freestyle. But that took a lot of dedicated focus on her swimming, just me and her in the pool together. For yourself, it's going to take a little bit longer than that. But if you work through this process step by step, a little bit like going to IKEA and deciding, right, I'm going to build this cupboard, how would you do it? You wouldn't get all the bits and pieces out together and try and build everything together at the same time. You'd work through it step by step. And that's exactly how you should approach this Learn to Swim process for yourself as well.